Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have you here as ever, Monday to Friday, sponsored by Arnold Clark and a top team alongside me. Alan Rough, as ever, in his usual position, flanked in the midfield area by Barry Ferguson and Tam McManus. Tam wearing hoops and Barry wearing red and blue. Does it get any better, I ask you, Barry?
No, I'm just... as I said, I'd ordered a few different night tops and I went for this nice blue Barcelona one. So
proper
it's the colours that it's my favourite colours, and I'm just looking at Tam's. I suppose that's his favourite colours, the green hoops.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to wear anything till he finds out what the official Adidas design is, Barry, to be honest with you. He's itching for that strip to eventually come out. And Roughie, you just wear anything that someone gives to you as a freebie.
Macron, that's Thistle.
Yes, that's it. Just the handouts, no big designer labels, but very comfortable, very good for me. And I was going to say to Barry, if Barry slept last night, obviously having dreams about that midfield he got picked in yesterday.
What's that?
Our midfield of the team, the select team.
Oh, did I not get in it?
Oh, you definitely got in it, okay.
Oh, you definitely got in it. The top 11 Scottish team, you know how everybody was voting on it, Barry? You definitely got in it. You were in a very, very strong midfield that had Lambert in there and also had, who was on the left-hand side, Roughie, can you remember?
Petrov was in it.
No,
Barry, the only Rangers player.
Roughie.
So basically, I'm in a midfield full of Celtic players.
Well, honestly. No, I'll tell you who was on the left-hand side. No, it wasn't. It was Callum McGregor, and you and Scott Brown were in the middle, which you played in the middle with Scott Brown, am I right?
Yeah, but I played, obviously, at Scotland. Most of the time, we played on the right side there. A four, when we played a four in there.
Fergie, were you the water carrier?
You're right. I'm not even biting there.
Don't go for that one, Fergie. It's too early. The other thing I was going to say to you is Andy Dunnicky sent me a lovely message on our Facebook page, basically with a video. And it was an absolute peach of a goal, Barry, that you scored for Rangers against Hearts. And you took it with your right and then swivelled on your left and hit it into the roof of the net. Do you remember that goal?
I think, was it Dado Purswick crossed it in? I think that was that the one you're talking about?
Yeah,
I remember it.
An absolute belter.
Yeah, I remember it. That was a decent Hearts team as well. They were no bad at that time. That's when the guy Romanoff seemingly had all that money to spend.
Yeah. It was a great goal. I've got to say hi to everyone. Eddie Snedden, good to see you on. James Gardner, Michael McClay, Nicky Twig as well, John McKenzie, Alan Brotherston, Joyce McDougall, John Black, Alan Montgomery. There's lots of people who are actually there. Bobby Jameson, as ever, is one of our supporters from Oakville, Ontario in Canada. So that gives you an indication of the spread of people from right across the globe watching our programme. We're delighted that you like, share and follow us. The figures in for the programme are sensational, lads. Roughie, more and more people joining the football family and enjoying the show. The figures on a daily basis now are magnificent across Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, it's great, the variety, and it's obviously we've got good subjects to talk about, although there are some bigger ones coming round the corner, so I think everybody's waiting and hanging on to see league reconstruction, who's going to win the league, so lots of big things to happen in the next week ahead, so hang on in there.
Yeah, and you got a little bit miffed, Roughie, because obviously people have been watching and they feel as if you've been off the boil in the last couple of weeks because, you only start to warm up in the last 5 minutes. But you've got a reason for that, haven't you?
I think basically the reason is me and you are on every night talking about relatively the same stuff all the time, and it does get a wee bit boring. We all want to talk about football. We want to talk about, player of the year and all that kind of stuff. But we've got to talk about it. Let's hope something moves on maybe tomorrow there might be something really big to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there he is with a wee sweetener there for us.
Oh, he's threw it in.
No, yeah. Oh, he knows. He knows tomorrow it's coming. It's the big one, the big dossier. Who was the man in the grassy knoll? We're about to find out. That's what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait for it. And also, if you do feel down, Roughie, I don't know what you're bumping your gums about. If you do feel down, you can always go onto your WhatsApp because Tam sends the odd video every now and then just to lift everyone's spirits.
Yeah. Well, they certainly put a smile on your face. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were blocking me.
Yep.
No, we were going to block you. You're a disgrace.
I'm only blocking you for the half-one posts.
Well, Roughie, you put a decent post on Saturday night.
Yeah, well, two years interrupted me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've got a life to live at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I know. I actually at one point, I kid you not, by the way, the worst thing you can do, and I don't know if anybody else suffers from this now, but if you take your phone, which apparently you're not supposed to, if you take your phone to bed and put it in the bedside cabinet, you get all sorts of pelters if it starts bleeping. And it bleeped about 1 o'clock in the morning. I had a look at it and I thought, okay, McManus, I'll see where you're going with your WhatsApp group. And then, of course, once Roughie eventually intervened, I thought, I'm now putting this on silent and I'm going to bed and I'm not going to talk to any of them. So that you can guess where we were going with. Apparently, you're not supposed to take your phone to bed with you. Lots of people. Tam's got the fake tan on, says Craig Fraser. Craig, you'll never know how right you are. Great show, guys, says Lackey Gillis. Thanks for that, Lackey. Gaza Collins, Martin Thompson. Hello from the Thompson clan. We are watching in sunny Darwin. 7 of us in lockdown. Wains are climbing the wall. I have great sympathy for people who are in lockdown with kids, because when you see the sun out, it just goes crazy, and you're trying to keep them occupied, but trying to follow the government instructions. So lots of people. Charles Denham says that sometimes, I don't know how it's happened, subtitles come up on yesterday's show. So hopefully we can get that off as well. But nevertheless, apart from anything else, I'll give as many people a mention as possible. How they can do subtitles with you, McManus, I'll never know. But nevertheless, let's have a look at today's quiz. That's an easy one to answer. Roughie could have been at 4 tournaments if he'd been involved in that one, and he was actually scheduled to go, but somebody denied him. So we'll give you the answer to the quiz at the end of the programme. Alan McLean says, hello from the sunny New Forest. Up the Buddies, a St Mirren fan. We've got a great one-to-one today. It's a player that I have a lot of respect for. I love him as a guy, and I loved watching him. I thought he was really underrated. Gary Mackay, the Hearts legend, is on with us today, and I can tell you that Gary, I'll mention it now and maybe show you the logo, but Gary is raising money for YAMS, which is a charity that Barry and I will actually have a lot of fondness for. It's You Are My Sunshine, and it was set up by Rhonda Jones, who's going to be on the show tomorrow. It helps a lot of people with mental health issues, among so many other issues that they may have in their personal life, and she has a number of people who try and help, not only in the isolation that we are suffering at the moment, but in everyday life before coronavirus hit. And it's a wonderful charity. And Gary Mackay has agreed to allow his family to scalp him with cold water, sponges, anything they can get their hands on. And I think, Tam, he's going to be wearing a Hibs top as well. Now, that takes some doing for Gary Mackay.
No, that's brilliant. Obviously, he's a Hearts legend. He was there for a number of years. He's well thought of by the supporters, and that's brilliant that he's doing that for charity. Getting plenty of things thrown at him. I just hope it's not the Hearts players that are throwing it, and they'll probably miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you can donate £5 for every £5 donated to it. If you go into the You Are My Sunshine Facebook page, you can find out with a picture of Gary how you can donate to it as well. So look for that logo on You Are My Sunshine on the Facebook. And well, fingers crossed we raise a lot of money for that one. I think it's up over £800 now, which is a brilliant gesture by Gary. He's a top bloke. And dare I say it, lads, get your thinking caps on, Roughie, because I picked the best Hearts 11 that I can say that I've seen most of them all play, not necessarily for Hearts, but for other clubs as well. And Gary picks his all-time ultimate Hearts 11. So you guys get your thinking caps on. We're going to talk about that towards the end. So lots to discuss, lots of people to mention. And would you believe it, Barry? Rhonda Jones has just joined the Facebook Live. So clearly she's just tuning in because she wants to see Gary Mackay speaking about her wonderful charity. And of course, Rhonda holds a special place in your heart, Baz.
Yeah, went to the same school, Rhonda. Why you get the big smile on your face there, Peter?
I just thought
it was great.
She sold a special place.
Listen, I tell you, she had a great career. Great career.
Yeah.
And it's great to see. She played with Celtic and Rangers. Big Rangers fan as well, Rhonda.
Oh, our dad is a huge Rangers fan. He gives me absolute pelters on Facebook, by the way. He loves Rangers, and his second favourite team is Rangers Reserves. That's how much he loves the Rangers. But Rhonda's a brilliant girl, absolutely superb. And look at wee Tam there looking for the scoop. His eyes just absolutely lit up there, but he senses there's a story there, doesn't he? Anyway,
I can see his mind ticking. I can see it ticking.
Rhonda has over 100 caps for Scotland. She was a brilliant player, and she's a great girl, and she's going to be on tomorrow's show talking about, obviously, the charity and how they help people in their hour of need. And we'll hear from Gary Mackay later on. Joseph McGonigal says, German football back next month. I read it earlier. Is there any truth? It's going to be behind closed doors. Well, the SPFL, Roughie, said that in the last 24 hours, if they were to contemplate playing matches behind closed doors, they would require a government bailout because they just don't have, the finances. This whole structure of Scottish football is built very much on fans coming through the turnstiles.
Yeah, we've already discussed it. We know the difference in the money between up here and down in England. England can do it quite easily. We just don't have the finances. Once everything is put out there, if it was to be behind closed doors, there'd be at least 20 things that you would have to do, and a lot of them would cost money to implement them. So I don't think we're anywhere near that. I don't think the clubs have got the finances already. Talking about now, clubs really struggling if there's no football before the end of the year. So no, it's a no-no for me.
Yeah, I mean, when you consider, guys, that Rugby League, Tam, got a £16 million bailout from the British government, I think there's a strong case when you consider what Scottish football contributes to the economy.
Yeah, Neil Doncaster kind of alluded to it yesterday in his chat that Scottish government would maybe have to bail out Scottish football, and I think that's where we're heading. I think the only way we're going to get back playing football is if the Scottish government tell us we're going to get back playing football, and if we're not going to be playing for another 3 or 4 months, then clubs are going to go bust. As simple as that. So I think they're going to need a handout from the Scottish government, as you said. The economy, everything up here, it's our number one sport in Scotland, and I think the government should be looking to protect that at all costs.
I'll tell you one thing, Barry. I mean, lots of people are wondering about the clubs who are really under pressure. I mean, I know Roger Mitchell, we had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he's mentioned on his Twitter account, which the Sun newspaper has picked up on, that he mentioned that he can't see how even a club like Rangers would not be under immense pressure when you consider they posted 11.3 million losses. They needed 10 million till the end of the season. They've got Douglas Park in there. I think the new kit deal, if they announce it, would be a huge help. But Rangers and many other clubs will be looking and thinking, well, if we can't get a huge amount of season tickets in, if we can't get sponsorship in, this is going to be a long, long summer.
Yeah, listen, there's no doubt in my mind, Peter, there is going to be strain. If we're talking about Rangers, definitely there's going to be strain on them. They rely heavily on the season books coming in, 40-odd thousand. But as I said previous, when Douglas Park get announced the chairman, that they've got a sound businessman involved, and he'll watch the money closely, and I'm sure Rangers will come out on the end of this virus. But listen, it's not just Rangers, Peter. Every club's going to be under serious while there's no football being played. And I'll go back to the bit where hopefully the government can bail out the clubs that are struggling, because as Tam mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it is the number one sport in Scotland. So we need to make sure not just Rangers and the Premier League clubs, all clubs survive this.
Yeah, I mean, that's a thing that I think is missing, Roughie. I think Stuart Regan, the ex-SFA chief executive, mentioned that sooner or later, the whole inquest and investigation into Neil Doncaster and all that is a sideshow here. We have to look collectively at the survival of the whole game and take into consideration all the clubs in this. We have to come together for the benefit of all the things that we've been saying over the last 4 or 5 weeks, non-stop.
Yeah, well, that's what you're hoping. These committees, there's about 3 or 4 committees going on just now, and you would like to think when they get round the table or the conference calls when they're doing that, they are all thinking not about self-preservation, but the whole lot, because we have lost clubs before. Okay, Gretton were a wee while ago, and Clydebank before that, East Stirling, and we don't want to see that happening. So these people have got a big responsibility when they get on these calls. They have to put everything aside and look for the better good of Scottish football. And that's what we want to see when they start announcing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, lots of people saying, Willie Gibson says, no fans, no football. Simple as that. And I think that's the key issue here, especially for Scottish football, because it does still rely heavily. And per head of population, Tam, let's not forget, Scottish football is one of the best supported sports across Europe, if not in the top 10 in the world. That's because we are fanatical about it.
Yeah, listen, we need fans coming through the gate, Peter. There's closed door games for me. I know a lot of fans are saying, well, we could do pay-per-view for your own club channels and different things, but it's not going to come anywhere close to getting 10, 15,000 through the gates, or even the smaller clubs getting their 500, 600. They rely on it so much, and there's not massive TV money like England or Germany. So we have got to have fans coming in, and it might be that we need to wait until there's a vaccine available until we actually get playing again. And so hopefully, all these boffins around the world are really, really going to get this vaccine as quickly as possible so we can all get back to normality, because before that, I don't think we're going to be playing any football.
Yeah, and there's the headline, Roughie, for today's programme. All you boffins, get your finger out. There you are. Tam's just labelled the genius minds of the medical profession, all you boffins. So there you are. That's fantastic. Brilliant stuff. You can't buy that sort of punditry, Roughie. That's just straight out of the top drawer, isn't it?
It's fantastic. He's actually overtaking me. He's coming out with some words I don't even know what that.
He's magnificent. See, up in East Kilbride, it's absolutely sensational up there. They're all going stir crazy. Tam is getting browner every day we see him, by the way. I mean, it's absolutely. Are you painting it on? Is the wife? I've just got this vision of you, Tam, in big giant paper pants, lying on a table, and the wife is just going, Is that what's happening?
She's pumped the selfie light up to max. So I'm now looking very, very brown, but it's a bit of a glare coming off this light.
Yeah, thank God you said the selfie light there, because the first one I had my heart in my mouth, to be perfectly honest with you. Anyway, apart from anything else, let's crack on with reconstruction, because this is a great day for Barry Ferguson. 14-16. Here's how it pans out, Barry. Oh, he's buzzing. Of course he is. Look at this. Premiership and the top 2 championship teams. That saves Hearts. The championship would be the bottom 8 of the championship and the top 6 from the League One. And then, Roughie, here it is. League One would be the bottom 4 from League One and 10 League Two teams, plus, of course, Brora Rangers and Kelty Hearts. That could be the makeup of it. What do you think of it, Roughie?
Yeah, it looks good and good for Barry, as we would all like to see it happening. I still feel every time something like this comes out, somebody rubbers it somewhere, and I think it'll be the bottom division. I think it'll be them. They won't want any less money coming in. Barry's already touched on that they're quite happy to forfeit their fee for the first season, which is very, very good. But I worry about these clubs. They've already said, they've all got together and they want a 14. So it'll be interesting to see it as that moves along, But we had the Ayr United boy on saying, "Oh, they're discussing lots and lots of things." This is just another one, to get your head round. I think the very first one is the 14, 10, 10, 10 is the one that favours everybody.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's on the cards at the moment. If you listen to what Lackland said, he said that's not on the cards. He certainly hasn't been privy to anything that we suggested was on the cards, 3 14s, 14, 10, 10, 10. But suddenly from nowhere, 14, 14 and 16 seems to be the one that will be discussed. Just before I get Barry's thoughts on it, Roughie, do you think that some of these clubs need to change their attitude because it's not right?
Yeah, I think Barry's touched on it. They have to look at the longevity of the game. I know a lot of them would be saying, if we look at, or already touched on it, Edinburgh City, going up, and Cove Rangers going up, just coming in, and there'll be self-preservation, and you have to see why, because they won't want to drop into this lowland league. They won't have the thought of, okay, if Brora and Kelty come in, and then two of us all of a sudden find ourselves dropping down the way. And it's happened on numerous occasions in the last couple of years. Cowdenbeath were nearly down there, Brecon got away with it this year. That's what they'll be saying to themselves. They'll be, maybe not the financial side of it, but they'll be looking at themselves and saying, look, can we afford to go down into the Lowland League or worse? And that's what they'll be voting on.
Yeah, okay. Barry, give us your reaction on the basis that 14, 14, 16 needs 11-1 to get it passed from the Premiership clubs, and then 75% of the remaining divisions. Do you think common sense is prevailing, and have you got high hopes of it getting through?
Well, first, Peter, I would obviously be happy because that would allow ourselves and Brora into the league, but the 14, 14 and 16... I feel sorry for Stranraer, Peterhead, Clyde, Forfar, Cove, for that matter. So, like I says about at the start, a lot of people ain't going to be happy with it. I think the fairest and the least damage to be done to the clubs is the 14 and 310s. Now, I know you just says that Lackland Cameron says that's off the table just now. I believe that's the best way and that's the way to go forward. The 14, 14, 16, of course I would accept it because it would allow us to go in. But also on the other hand, I would feel sorry for the clubs that are denied promotion, i.e. Cove Rangers, and obviously Peterhead, Clyde and Forfar, who weren't even bottom of the League One. That would mean they would suffer and go down again. So I think the fair and squarest way to do it is the 14 and 3. But look, if it allows us a chance to get up, obviously I'm going to be happy and go with it. But I'll go with my first point, 14 and 310s for me.
Tam, to be honest with you though, if it goes to 3 divisions, you get a situation where it would be, first of all, everybody playing 22 games, and then it would split into 2 leagues of 7, and then they would play each other a further twice to get it to 38 games. But all the other clubs, you're still a division closer to the Premiership if it goes down to three divisions.
I think it depends how you look at it. Glass half full or half empty, Peter. Cove Rangers, I know what Barry's saying, but they still only be a league away from the Championship. They'll still be the same. If it was League One, they'll still be only a league away from the second league in Scottish football. Obviously, if they go back the way, if you look back the way, they're obviously going to go down in the lower league. But I think Cove Rangers and Edinburgh City would be looking up. They'd be looking to try and get into the Championship and push into that rather than looking behind them. I think Barry's right. The teams who are going to get a wee bit shafted are the Forfars, Clyde, Peterhead, who are only, as I said, a division away from getting into the lower league, or a bad start away from really looking over their shoulders. So it just depends how you look at it. I'd like to see Brora and Kelty in the league. Will the other League 2 teams vote them in? Because they're 2 clubs coming in with big ambition and, let's be honest, for that level, good budgets. Are they going to vote them in? There's a wee bit of jealousy, a wee bit of self-preservation going to come in and go, oh, wait a minute. These 2 are going to come in and it could really scupper us. We could end up going down the way.
Peter, that's what I feel. I honestly feel there's a bit of fear of clubs from the Lowland League and the Highland League coming into League 2. That's why I think these League 2 clubs are going against wanting reconstruction. That's my honest opinion. Look, I've seen a couple of comments come out of clubs. That's just the kind of feeling I'm getting just now. But that's what you want. You want ambitious clubs to come up and try and go for it and show what they're all about. And certainly Kelty and Brora are they clubs that have got the ambition. And there's plenty of clubs in that Lowland League, Peter, that would certainly get into that League Two and make a real fight at the top end of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, all for meritocracy, all for clubs trying to better themselves, all for us enhancing the game. I think the argument before coronavirus was, can Scotland sustain 42 clubs in a professional setup? Now, suddenly, the whole landscape has changed dramatically. Now, listen, I'll try and read out as many points as possible. Random person, this is the great joy of YouTube. When we have people on YouTube, they don't actually need to use their own name or indeed a photograph, so they can just duck in and out of us not knowing who they are. But he does make a valid point. He says, none of the panel are doctors or have, as I'm aware, spent any time in medical school. When you push the vaccine as a cure, or at least try and be balanced and mention other people in the medical field question vaccines. Yes, random person, they do. But what we try and do on the programme is highlight the information that we are given from governments, from the chief medical officer, and of course people who are at the head of the health departments across Scotland and the UK. We highlight these things because these are the main barriers to us getting back to normality in sport, in work. People are saying, you want to get to a situation where if any fans are going out, if anybody's going out of their house, we need to get to a situation where people can actually be tested to trace where the virus is, to make sure that people isolate if they're in contact with anyone else. And then over and above that, the other information that we're putting out there, and we don't in any way profess to have any medical background, the information that we're relaying to you is over and above that. People are saying that you can't have mass gatherings, because there is no vaccine to make people immune for it. And I think that a number of people would like some form of immunity before they get into large gatherings again. So again, none of us have professed in any capacity whatsoever to be doctors. What we are doing is sucking up as much information as we can, and in a sensible and hopefully a balanced way, put across the barriers that Scottish football, English football, European and world football are facing at the moment. And with that in mind, Roughie, the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said the return of the Premier League would lift the spirit of the nation. It certainly would lift their spirits, but I'm not sure. I still think they're blowing through their back end on this one. I just don't think they're facing up to the realities. German football supposed to come back at the end of this month. Will it happen? English football supposed to be coming back before the cut-off period in June. They at least can play behind closed doors because their whole structure financially is not based on fans coming through the door. But I seriously have my doubts on it.
Yeah, I have my doubts on it as well, but we shouldn't be really worrying about them, Peter. It's about our game. And, I think you hit it on the head there. The SPFL could do a vote with all the clubs, and all the clubs could say, right, come on, let's get back in September. And that would be the First Minister and the health people who'll say, no, you're not. You won't be doing it until we tell you you're doing it. And that's the way it is. And we have to accept that. So you can have as many votes and as many discussions as you like. The people who are going to decide whether people get back into football grounds are the government and the health board. And they're the two main people. And I think England are kidding themselves on if the very, very important health people down there don't see the same problems. So they seem to be talking a good game, but let's see if it happens.
Yeah, Tam, I was reading quite a bit of everybody, obviously, as Roughie has mentioned. We talk about these things, variations of it, and as each day passes and things move on. Stephen Gerrard was talking to TalkSport, and he said that up here we seem to be in an almighty rush to end the season. There's no need to take a deep sigh when I mention Stephen Gerrard's name, Tam. Calm your jets until I give you the point. Stephen Gerrard says we seem to be in a rush to get to the end of the season up here. If anything, I'm looking at the date. If anything, I think we've gone on a fair bit here. We're at the 6th of May. No football, no chance of football being played, and we're now getting mightily close to what would have been the end of the season anyway, Tam.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all from Steven Gerrard. I think we've spoke about it in this show for 6 weeks. You know, there's not going to be any more football played this season. You know, and I think you're talking maybe August, September at the very earliest. So I think you should call the league now, you know, and try and get clubs their money. Try and protect clubs. Try and, you know, make sure clubs don't go bust and look towards planning for next season. You know, putting a fixture list, sorting the leagues out, getting reconstruction sorted, getting the fixture list up and running, and having a date where we can start, you know, next season, because this season's just a write-off. You know, and a lot of clubs, you know, look at France and Holland and all these places. They've all called the league as well. So why should we not do it?
Yeah, Ryan McBriarty says, Roughie is on a rant. He's just put me in my place as well there. I mentioned the English league and Roughie just kicked me out into left field. Yeah, we're not interested in them. Bang, so don't bother bringing it up, Pedro. I know exactly what this is all about. Alec, he's stung, by the way, lads, by yesterday. Somebody questioned his commitment. So he's come out with a stud showing and he's just kicking everybody to try and put an edge into his punditry. Alec Kelly says, Peter, can you ask Tam to spell vaccine? Well, he can spell vaccine. She was one of the first girls that he ever went out with, so he always remembers vaccine. So there's no point in ladling into him. And lots of people. Laurie Smith, great to have you with us, Laurie. Ryan McBrearty, Willie Ennis, Dougie Liddle, lots of people coming on and giving us their tuppence worth as well. And we value your opinion. Thank you very much for that. Also, I was just wondering, Roughie, as ever, only in Scotland can we start really going back into things. But I noticed, and quite a few people have sent me texts on it as well, saying that there's the SPFL, there's no record of a loan to Gretna in administration. I just wonder, you know, this is obviously everybody picking up on every point that's been made on radio and TV over this argument with loans and advances that were made to clubs. Clearly, this one was, highlighted as why they couldn't make a loan to anyone, because apparently Gretna went into administration and then, you know, disappeared off the face of the earth, and, you know, certain figures that were paid to them were not paid back. I mean, I just wonder, you know, I'm sure they could explain that away as well, as in, was there an advance that Gretna had eaten up? Is there evidence of the payout in the SPFL accounts as well? That would clear it all up. That's the madness, the forensic madness that goes on here.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it'll just turn into legal jargon. That's all it will be. There'll be words used that half of us don't know what they're talking about. They'll be dodging this and dodging that. I was led to believe that the SPFL actually did come out and say that Gretna were giving a loan, and the reason we're not giving out any loans is because they never paid it back. You know? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I read that somewhere.
Yeah, you did. All the boys just want to know who Legal Jardim is, and did he play for anyone? Who is Legal Jardim?
Is that a Portuguese striker?
Jargon. Legal jargon, Roughie, not Jardim.
All right.
Jargon.
Google.
Right, okay.
And then he said big words that people won't understand.
They're my words, eh?
He just invented a word.
I swear to God, Tam, there was a period. He can't pronounce any new signing. That's the first thing, right? He makes up what he thinks it sounds like. For about 6 months, he couldn't say Alfredo Morelos. I mean, that's how bad it's getting, you know, until we had to constantly claim. And I think actually Chris Collins has actually nailed it for us. Chris, I mean, that is razor sharp. Chris says, Roughie possibly talking about Lego Jardim. They were on a cup run. That could have been in Portugal. So well done, Chris. I mean, honestly, I don't know where he's going with it, but so many. Put your teeth in, Roughie, says William McMullen. And Laurie Smith says, Who does Lego Jardim play for? It's absolutely fun. So everybody now, we should get that, by the way. We should get Lego Jardim t-shirts. That would be, as well as this is not the show for you, for all the odd morons that absolutely Kane is on this programme. Hey, Tam, I read that Mark Votta wants a St Johnstone job. Now, forgive me for this one. I cannot see that happening, can you?
No chance. What is he doing now, Mark Water? I know he was in charge of the think tank at the SFA. What is he doing now? Is he in Dubai or somewhere?
Well, he's in charge of legal jargon in Holland.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely.
What's happened to him?
He's gone, Barry. He was actually back in Holland, but he was, overseeing the Scotland, under 21s, under 19s, as you well know, Tam. But nevertheless, it's still worth talking about it. Mark Votta. Incidentally, coming up very shortly, we're going to hear from Gary Mackay, and I want to get your guys your thoughts on some of the players that you think you would have in your all-time Hearts 11. Get your thinking cap on with that one as well. Now, here's a great one, Tam. I want you to try and explain this one away for us. Celtics, I saw this in The Sun and I thought, wow, what a question that must have been by the journalist, who's quoted as saying Celtics head of recruitment is looking at 240 players. Now, I don't know about you, Tam, but how does the conversation go? How many players are you looking at? And he goes, I'll get back to you in a minute. So it's 1, 2, 3. I mean, who counts 240 players? Where did that line come from?
Somebody that's looking for a headline, a bit of clickbait. Yeah. But no, I'm sure Celtic are looking at players. I'm sure everybody's looking at players, but 240, I mean, I don't think they're looking at that many.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, Barry, here's a question for you as a manager. Do you go and see a player that you want to sign? I know now lots of people actually turn around and say, we'll send you a video of the player. Agents send videos. Yep. There's lots of teams that get videos sent in of players. Do you like to go and look at them?
Yep, I done that when I was building my squad for this season, Peter. I went my couple of training sessions when there was some to go and see them with my own eyes, because you know a lot about them. But before I made that signing, before they signed on the dotted line, I like to see them with my own eyes. But also what I like to do, Peter, I like to sit down and have a good chat with them. I like to look in their eyes and see what they're all about.
Yeah.
And get to know them and get to know a bit about their background as well, which is I think is important.
Yeah.
And then get a big checkbook out.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you have done, Barry, if you'd I was just looking at that there. I was wondering if Barry's microphone, I don't know if you need the cable in the bottom of it, Barry. It's kind of a kicking in and out there. Just you check that, son, because we don't want to miss some of the great stuff. Just on that point, Barry, what would you have done if you'd looked into the eyes of Tam McManus as you were about to offer him a deal?
I would have felt sorry for him and gave him a deal. Just need to sit on the bench, son. Last 10 minutes.
Good impact, sub.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd have been a good impact.
Here, saying that, I read your wee bit, Tam, about Derry City. I read the wee interview you done about Derry City.
Aye.
That was good.
What was it you said, Tam?
No, just been away to Derry City. I hadn't played. Obviously, I'd played under Stephen Kenny at Dunfermline. And I was playing in America, and their season finished in October. So basically, I was out running and doing wee bits and pieces, but I hadn't trained or anything, so I didn't sign for Derry in March. And I walked into the restaurant to meet Stephen Kenny. I hadn't seen him in about 3 years, and he just said, "Have you been eating burgers and hot dogs in America?" He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe the shape of me. And then, honest to God, for 6 weeks, I didn't see a ball. For 6 weeks, I just ran every day. It was horrendous. But eventually, I got myself in shape for the last 3 games of the season.
Yeah, did you score?
Did you move over there?
I moved over there. It was full time, so moved over there. And that was the season that they went bust. So the Jonah struck again, as Peter knows.
Yeah, absolutely, fantastic. Which again, Roughie, I don't want to make 2 and 2 here makes 4, but suddenly we sign McManus. Suddenly, there's a pandemic across the world, and everybody's wondering how long we're going to last here. If this jinx sinks us, I'll be raging, Roughie. Will you?
Yeah, it must have been a horrible feeling that when they walked in the door at any club, that everybody be going, "Oh no, here we go." That's the end of us. But I got his video, 5 best corners. They're superb.
Absolutely.
For wonderful.
He was in his element last week. Him and Bruni just sucking up to each other, talking about the good old days in Edinburgh. It was magnificent to listen to. Anyway, Laurie Smith says, could Tam still play at a lower level, I wonder? Oof, what about that line, Tammy?
Nah, I wouldn't have dropped down to that kind of level, Peter. I played at a good level. I wouldn't get near that level now. Not for me.
Aye, right, good.
Unless I get a few quid. Yeah, money talks, as you know, Peter.
Yes,
Aye,
absolutely.
did you not go junior? Tam, did you
I
not
did.
go and play juniors for a while?
I come back from Ireland. I was gubbed, but they were just starting. Gartcairn Juniors were just starting as a club, and met them and all that, and they paid for my B licence, and I done a wee bit of coaching with them and played with them for about 6 months, and got them up and running, and they're still going. They're going well. They're an ambitious club in the juniors, Gartcairn, and there's still not a lot of people there. So no, I quite enjoyed my wee stint there, but I was ready to retire.
Yeah, absolutely. At the start of the 6 months, to be honest with you, but nevertheless, you did hang on for 6 months' money. And don't worry, Gartcairn, the end is only a couple of months away. Once he's signed for you, that's it. You're goosed. Listen, we're going to catch up with a guy that I've got a lot of time for. I thought he was a wonderful player in maroon, and I think a lot of Hearts fans and Jambos will enjoy the chat I had earlier today with Gary Mackay. Well, I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by one of the most underrated midfielders for me in Scotland in the 1980s, a Hearts legend in Gary Mackay. Gary, first and foremost, delighted to see you. Are you safe and well, son?
I'm keeping great, Peter. Everything's fine with me just now.
Scottish football, it's in a crazy state at the moment, Gary, but it looks as if they're going to discuss 14, 14 and 16, which in the end would actually save Hearts from getting relegated.
It doesn't matter what size the league is, Peter, as long as Hearts are safe for relegation. It could be 18, 20 or whatever, but I kind of feel that it'd be better if the talking was done on the pitch. Unfortunately, that's not been the case for Hearts this year, so we'll just take whatever comes our way, I think.
For me, quite a lot of the criticism that came the club's way, it seemed to be more than any other club was getting when Anne Budge announced that she was going to make those cuts, Gary. I think maybe the unfortunate thing was it came at the same time when they were saying they were going to look to recruit players. They got a fair bit of stick in the press for it.
Well, I could understand Anne's thoughts. I think she was a step ahead of people, to be honest, when she was making the cuts. But the stupidity of the footballing department sending out an email at that particular time really undermined Anne, and I'm sure, knowing what she's like as an individual, that the people that made that mistake will have been spoken to about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of respect for her, Gary. I think she runs the club and has got the club back to that kind of a family feel, certainly in my discussions with her. I think she's got Hearts at her very core. She wants it to do well. In this current climate, are you worried for Hearts financially going forward, and maybe other clubs who are thinking, how are we going to survive if we don't get back playing?
I think you're worried for all clubs. I mean, first and foremost, as a Hearts supporter, I'm worried about my own club, but it's a terrible situation for everybody to be in. But I think life is more important than football at this moment in time, and it's about hoping that everybody keeps safe and nobody's stricken with this virus. On the footballing side, we just have to hope that we'll come out the other side of it and we can make positive steps going forward. And that is a footballing community in Scotland. I think that's what's missing just now. Everybody's looking after themselves instead of a togetherness. And when you do come together, I think you get better results.
The SPFL Chief Executive Neil Doncaster says Scottish football, is facing a major, major crisis, and he highlighted the fact that a number of people have certainly raised an eyebrow at the British government giving rugby league £16 million to save it from, disaster. Is it time the government stepped in to help one of the most profitable organisations, one of the most eagerly followed in Scotland in Scottish football?
I think it would be great if the government did step in, but I think, again, because there are so many different factions just now. The government will be thinking, well, how do we go about this? How do we bring everybody together? If we as a footballing family can come together and show the government we want to go forward as a group and show a bit of unity, then it's easier for the government then to say, yes, we will help you the best we can.
Yeah, I'd love to see us obviously getting back to playing football on the park. I'm amazed, Gary. Over 2,000 Hearts fans have put their hand in their pocket and they've already bought season tickets. When you consider families and jobs and the security for the future, it's an amazing figure, isn't it?
Well, I think all the figures from Hearts supporters over the past 10, 15 years, Peter, are brilliant. You know, the Foundation of Hearts is over 8,000 people involved in that. And as you say, the season ticket numbers are crazy, considering no one knows what the future holds for them within their own lives or what it holds for Hearts as regards being in the Premier League or in the Championship.
Yeah, Stephen Robinson said to me yesterday, Gary, he wonders what kind of recruitment he'll be able to afford, you know, with the budgets being slashed. You just wonder how Hearts can suddenly change what for me was a disappointing season. I was going through there on a regular basis to watch the Jambos, and my God, it was hard to watch.
Yes, it's not been pretty for the supporters, and it's highlighted with the results we've had. I think I looked at a situation with St Johnstone and made a comparison over the last, I think it was 13 games, and Hearts have a shortfall against St Johnstone of about 11 points. And when you look at the budgets that these two clubs have in comparison to St Johnstone, Hearts are miles ahead. But our recruitment, and it doesn't matter, like him or lump him, Craig Levein, his recruitment has been pretty poor, to be honest.
I know Daniel Stendel's in the job at the moment. This is just a personal opinion. I was shouting from the rooftops, wee Robbo deserves a second kick at that job at some point in the future. Gary, I don't know if you agree with me.
Well, I mean, Robbo's one that he's went away from the football club and proved that he's got qualities as a manager. I mean, I've just mentioned St Johnstone, Peter. I sometimes get surprised that Tommy Wright's name was never associated with Hearts either, because it's nothing short of miraculous what Tommy has done or what he had done at St Johnstone, and Robbo probably at Inverness with the budget he has done a fabulous job up there as well.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about something that I think is close to your heart. I know the Harmony Residential School. I'm delighted that they've allowed you some time to have a wee chat with us, but they're looking forward to dousing you in water. Now, tell me about it.
Well, we've got one of these guys that's so well educated, a Celtic supporter who wonderfully educated guy, but unfortunately he's not got much common sense, and he thought it'd be a great idea to put my name forward to be the recipient of as many buckets and I think there are going to be sponges and so on of water for a charity called Yams, which is a charity that's close to, I know you're aware of it, and I'm well aware of it as well. So we're doing that this Saturday. There was a Hib strip I seen being carried into the school today, so I have a wee concern that that'll maybe earn an extra £50 if I do don the colours, but we'll wait and see.
I can tell you right now, Gary, I am going to promote this to the high heavens, because with social distancing, I know people have to stay 2 metres apart. There could be a queue down Princes Street to belt you with a sponge and throw water over your head in a Hib strip. That would be something to see. Please ask someone to get a photograph, will you?
Well, that's just friends and family too, Peter. Never mind people that didn't like me.
That's absolutely brilliant. Listen, before you go, I've got to get your thoughts. I was wondering today, I was looking about and I'm thinking, I'd love to get your thoughts on a Hearts all-time 11, because, for the 12 years that I stayed in Edinburgh, Robbo and I are great pals. I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to come up with an 11 of the players that I've seen, not necessarily while they were playing for Hearts, but players that I've seen over the course of my time watching Scottish football and beyond. So here's my 11. Give me your thoughts on it before we reveal yours. I've got Gordon in goal, Watty Kidd, Levein, Jardine and Gary Naismith, Busby, Dave Mackay, Gary Mackay in there for a wee bit of silkiness. And then I've got Donald Ford, Robbo and Neil McCann. What do you make of that?
That's a good lineup. I mean, I had a wee note myself, Peter, and I think 3 of that back 4. I mean, Gary Naismith, the only one that I changed there was Tosh McKinlay for Gary, because I felt that at Hearts, Tosh probably didn't get the credit he deserved until he moved to a particular club in Glasgow. Then all of a sudden he got cap after cap after cap that they were Tosh, you know. But
Yeah,
no, that
absolutely.
is, I mean, Busby was a hero of mine. Donald Ford, when you think when Hearts were really struggling in the 70s, Donald Ford was in a World Cup squad that had the likes of Joe Jordan and Dennis Law, and Donald was playing in a yo-yo team at Hearts at that time who were up and down, you know.
Yeah, talk me through your team then. I've got the team up on the screens there. Give us your thoughts.
Well, Cruikshanks was just for me the best goalie I ever seen. I just thought he was wonderful. I mean, with the three at the back that you said, I mean, I had Tosh instead of Gary Naismith. Sandy Jardine was just pure class. So was Craig Levine. What a kid was somebody that I run out behind all the time because I thought he'll protect me if I'm on form today. Stevie Fulton was just a magnificent ball player, whereas Dave Mackay was that aggressive type. And then I put Ford, Robertson and Scatchell behind Willie Bald. I didn't see Willie Bald, but the threat that they four would have in the front area of the pitch, I just thought was something that I would love to have seen and love to have been part of. But when you look back, and I know that Celtic and Rangers in particular, they think about the theme of huge, good football players they've had. The two sides that you and I have just picked there now show that Hearts weren't short of classy football players over the years as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be remiss of me not to apologise to every Jambo that I know that will be giving me pelters, Gary. We missed out Tommy Walker, John Cumming, Alan Anderson, Alfie Conn, Jimmy Wardhaw and Alec Young. So, I mean, somebody's got to cut us some slack.
Absolutely, with the players that you've had to choose from. And I mean, even for my era, I mean, John Cahoon, people like that, you know, guys that would have walked into most teams, but ultimately, when you're asked to put a team down in paper, you have to make that choice and stand by it, Peter.
Well, listen, it's been great chatting to you, Gary. An absolute joy. And the other good thing is, well done with the challenge. We're going to put a link up to it. I know Yams is a great charity. Rhonda's coming on tomorrow to talk about some of the people that Yams helps with the mental health, especially when we're self-isolating. And it's a great charity. And I hope you raise lots of money, and I hope you get pelted with as many sponges from your family as possible. Stay safe and well. Thanks, Gaz.
All the best, Peter.
What a top bloke, by the way. I loved him as a player, Tam McManus. He's a Hearts legend.
Yeah, listen, he was probably a little bit before my time, Peter. I didn't really see a lot of him, but obviously played a number of games for Hearts. Rightly a Hearts legend, and some great players in both your teams there. Obviously a lot of them before our time. Me and Barry. Paul Hartley for me would have been there. Any kind of Hearts 11, Scatchell obviously as well, Robertson. I thought Takos Fisas, the left back, the Greek fullback was some player for Hearts as well. Stephen Presley. So, it's a lot of different eras in there that we would probably maybe change.
Yeah. Roughie, did you have anybody else that we've forgotten?
Just a mixture of what you had there. I had Craig Gordon in goal. I had Sandy Jardine at fullback. Craig Levine, Big Boy Anderson, who was of my era. Tosh
Alan
McKinley,
Anderson.
I had him. Alan Anderson. Naismith, I put Naismith in. And Dave Mackay and Gary Mackay, obviously. And three up front would be Ford, Robertson and Clark.
Sandy Clark as well, yeah. He'll be giving me pelters for forgetting him. Sandy, Clark and Robbo were a great partnership, Barry.
Yeah, they were. Sandy Clark was hard as nails, and John Robertson was your ultimate goal scorer. I used to go through and watch Hearts, Peter, when my brother signed from Rangers. Went through with my dad every second week to Tynecastle and watched Gary Mackay playing. John Cahoon, I know he mentioned him towards the end. He was a fantastic player as well. So there was a lot of good players in both of their lineups.
Yeah, and the one thing I always remember, Roughie, was Sandy Jardine used to say to me when he was part of our commentary team when we used to do the commentary on Hearts Hibs games in Edinburgh. He said to his one director, come up to him one day and said, "I didn't realise you were actually as good a player as you are." Sometimes when you don't see players, Sandy won the Player of the Year in Scotland at 37 for Hearts. That's how good he was.
Yeah. Yeah, he was fantastic. You know, I think everybody thought when he went through to Hearts that would be the end of his career, but he never dropped the level at all. He kept it, and I think he was an inspiration to a really good Hearts side. You know, and to have somebody like that in your team was obviously a bonus.
Yeah, Pablo says Neil McCann was worth a shout. Yep, I had Neil McCann in my Hearts 11 there. I'm sure there are 3 or 4 others that I should have put in. McCann was a good player, great player.
Tremendous.
And he would always be in my favourite 11 when I played at Rangers, Neil McCann. Somebody you would want in the trenches, Peter, as well. I know a lot of people look at Neil being 5'8", but he was a warrior, but old-fashioned winger. Used to go, take men on, get the byline. I love playing with Terry. Top player.
Barry, Peter, can you remember was it League Cup final, Hearts against Rangers? I think it was 4-3 to Rangers. Neil McCann was the best player in the park by a distance. It's one of the best individual performances I've ever seen from somebody.
Do you know what, Tam? I always thought he was a good player, but you know what it's like until a player actually signs and you train with him every single day. And the way that he trained as well, he was one of the hardest trainers that I have ever come across.
Yeah,
on the training pitch, off the pitch, in terms of in the gym, looked after himself. So he's one player that I would always have in my team.
Yeah, is that the League Cup final, Barry? If my memory serves me correct, if McCann was playing well, was that not the League Cup final where Gaza went in? It was at Celtic Park. I was there in the press box. I think Gaza went in at half-time into one of the hospitality suites, ordered a whiskey, and then fired out onto the park and won the game for Rangers in the second half. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think it is that one. I think it is that. But Gaza had done that often. He used to have a wee hip flask in his bag. Used to have a wee swiggy. I don't know what was in it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know.
Yeah,
it couldn't have been anything.
Roughie used to have a wee swig of a crunchy, a sandwich and a pie at half time. Always just helped him along.
I could never ever get my head around that. I don't know if it happened in Barry's era with Scotland at Hampden. At half time at Hampden for an international, you come in, there'd be a big tray of sandwiches. You know, I never ever got my head around why these sandwiches were there and why all the stupid drinks as well. You know, it just shows you, you know.
Yeah, the times have changed, actually. Yeah, what drinks, Roughie?
Oh, just mixture of drinks.
all these stupid energy drinks.
Orange, Coca-Cola, Iron Brew, Tizer,
sugar,
whatever.
Sugar, yeah, absolutely. Well, I have to tell you, you know what it's like. There's if you get a chance, there's a great documentary, guys, and this is especially for Tam and Barry who like to suck these things up. Roughie, I think you've actually watched it already, but on BT Sport, I think you can get it in catch up, guys. There is a fantastic documentary on Jimmy Greaves. And Jimmy Greaves scored on his debut for every professional club.
I've seen it, Peter.
Great. And I remember Terry Venables telling us a story that Jimmy Greaves signed for Chelsea and Terry Venables was there with him. And on the day of a game at 12 o'clock, Tam, Jimmy Greaves and Terry Venables had steak and chips before they were going to play in a game. It just shows you.
What's the matter with that?
Yeah, I was just saying, Roughie. The other point I was about to make to you is listen.
Yeah, that's what Bertie Vogts, Peter. That's what Bertie Vogts brought.
Was there no, Peter? Was there no a mad story that Brian Clough made of the Notts Forest boys drink the night before the European Cup final? They all had to have some wine glass out, and I think it was Larry Lloyd refused, and he said, "If you don't drink, you're no playing."
Yeah, everybody had to have a pint. He loved to relax everybody. Jim McAnally actually told me a great story because he signed for Nottingham Forest in Cloughy. And the night before, Tam, listen to this, the night before Jim McAnally was up in his room, Cloughy's assistant called him and says, the gaffer says you have to come down to the bar. And all the Nottingham Forest players were there and he said, what do you want to drink? And Macca, obviously thinking to himself, I don't want to upset the gaffer, says, I'll have a Coke. And he said to him in his own Cloughy style, and I'm paraphrasing here, he says, what are you, some kind of Scottish idiot? You'll have a lager like everybody else. And he said, I kid you not, Peter, he says, not me, he says, but the Nottingham Forest team were plastered, he says, and we went out and get a nil. We got a 0-0 at Anfield, which is amazing, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing some of the things. I mean, when I was over in Orlando the night before we played Tampa Bay, a cheerleader came into my room and I says, "Get out of here! I've got a game in the morning."
You been grabbing her pom-poms.
Absolutely.
He's on fire, buddy. He's on fire.
Honestly, what happens is if somebody gives him pelters on social media that he's been rubbish the last couple of days, suddenly he'll throw in a cheerleader story, and then he's getting all of these stories that we haven't heard before. Absolutely.
But I could assure everybody, if a cheerleader came into Roughie's room, I know what the time.
Absolutely. She's not leaving. Well, I'm delighted to say we can now go live to Orlando, where the cheerleader, which tracked her down, she joins us now. Jenny, wouldn't that be great? Can you imagine his FaceTime if some 70-year-old American cheerleader was on the end of the line? That would be magnificent. Anyway, apart from
what is that? Is that supposed to put you off?
Yeah. Shut up, you. Listen, I will try. I make a promise to you. I don't know why it's happened, but I will try to rectify. Sometimes there's subtitles coming up on our.
Is that when Barry's talking?
Feed. I don't know why it's happened. The subtitles come up on the feed at the moment, so we'll try and rectify that. Somebody's obviously hit a button somewhere, and I don't know how they've managed to translate cheerleader Roughie's room in the 80s. So nevertheless, we'll try and rectify the actual subtitles, which are annoying the hell out of everybody. Just before we go, guys, always like to look back in time in history. 50 years ago this very day, not a lot of Celtic fans talk about this, but there was a certain European Cup final.
50 years ago today saw Celtic lose 2-1 to Feyenoord in their second European Cup final in 3 years. The Hoops went into the match as favourites, having overcome Leeds in the famous Battle of Britain in the semi-final. Feyenoord were little known back then, but boasted stars such as Willem van Hanegem and Wim Jansen, and were managed by Ernst Happel. Tommy Gemmell opened the scoring from a quick free kick, but the Dutch side struck back just 2 minutes later. Feyenoord dominated and won the game 3 minutes before the end of extra time, striker Ovi Kindval capitalising on captain Billy McNeil's mistake. Celtic players were left questioning their pre-match overconfidence. McNeil saying defeat in Milan was manager Jock Stein's costliest misjudgment.
It's hard to believe, Roughie, when Celtic won the European Cup in 1967, Rangers were in the Cup Winners' Cup final. In 1970, you're looking there at a Celtic side that could have won the European Cup for a second time.
Yeah, it was amazing, but I think as Gabriel touched on it there, I think the hype of the Leeds game, home and away, obviously 136,000 at Hampden, maybe that just took the shine off it a wee bit for Celtic. I've spoken to wee Bertie and Jim Craig, and they said maybe they took their eye off the ball a wee bit, which you shouldn't obviously do in a European final, but sometimes when you're in a really good side and you expect to win the game, if you take your eye off it, your level drops a wee bit, and I think that's what happened. I personally, I remember the game, but I didn't know that it was a late goal in injury time. That must have been an absolute killer.
Yeah, well, it was an extra time, with 3 minutes left. I mean, it's something, again, you don't look back on the stats. You get kind of caught up, as you say, on things like the victory over Leeds United, 3-1 in aggregate. But the final itself, not a lot of people would actually know they were in a second European Cup final. And at that time as well, Scottish football had some wonderful players, some gifted players. And it goes back to what we're saying, Tam. It doesn't matter about your preparation. If you take all the right vitamins, you drink all the right stuff, you have the best food possible that you could to prepare for a game. If you can't kick the ball and you're rubbish at football, it doesn't matter. You need to have the technical ability.
I'm sure Harry Redknapp said that. There's something about a plate of pasta. It's not going to make him trap a ball. Listen. Okay, you've got to look after yourself and eat the right things. But if you can't play, it doesn't matter what you eat. And all these guys were top footballers. And, obviously back in the day, Celtic had another opportunity to win a European Cup. It's amazing. The dominance that Celtic, and as you said, Rangers won the European finals as well. Oh, hasty days back. I don't think they'll ever get them again, but magnificent for Scottish football.
Peter, was that the Wim Jansen that was the manager of Celtic?
Yes, with Wim van Hanegem as well in that side, who was a magnificent midfielder. And it also started the domination of Dutch football in the European Cup tournament, because Ajax went on to win it 3 years on the trot, 71, 72 and 73, with the great Johan Cruyff in their side, Johnny Rep, Johan Neeskens and Rudy Krol, if I remember. So some fantastic players there. Yeah, I'm showing my age. Sorry about that, Barry. No need to talk to you about what you eat or your technical ability, because you had it in abundance, son. Listen, amazing.
Thanks, Peter.
Well, that's why I asked you the question, about what you were eating. Tam, you were a good player. You were a good player in your day as well. The other thing I was going to say to you guys, as I dig myself out of a hole with McManus.
Can you nail that day?
What, that Tam was a great player?
The day, yeah.
Yeah,
What day? Was it any day or a particular day?
It was a fantastic. He scored. I think he scored his volley at Ibrox. Was that the pinnacle? Was that when you were at your best, McManus? Was that when you feel you reached your peak?
Yeah, it was either that one or the one I scored at Celtic Park from 30 yards. It's hard to separate both of them, but aye.
Yeah.
What one's your favourite? You must have a favourite, Tam.
Oof.
Come on,
Tam.
Come on, which one gave you the most pleasure?
Yeah.
It was obviously the one. Was it one against Rangers? One against Rangers. In front of the Copeland Road, when it silenced them for about 5 minutes, then we get beat 5-2, but for that split second I felt alright.
The one thing I was going to say to you, and I meant to bring it up, Barry, was when you mentioned there about Neil McCann. Neil also displayed a quality that you possessed when you scored against Celtic, because I don't know if you witnessed and you watched the Rangers winning the title in, I think it was 1999 at Celtic Park. And Neil McCann rounds the goalkeeper, puts the ball into the net. This is the infamous game. It's 3-0. Mayhem all around the place. Rangers have won the title at Celtic Park. And when Terry puts the ball in the net, he runs as if, oops, I'm going towards the Celtic end, and then quickly changes direction and goes behind the goal away over to the Rangers fans. Did you see that, Barry?
Yeah, I've done it a few times. You've got to stay at least 10, 15 yards. Keep your distance.
Absolutely.
The other one that was mental like that was Craig Beattie. I didn't know when he was going to stop when he was running around the track at Hampden when he scored.
Oh, the penalty kick
game.
Yeah. You're on fire today, Roughie, aren't you? You're a right barrel of laughs.
I remember that one.
So the other thing I was going to say to you guys is, amazingly, because we are all over the world, there's lots of people. I told you in Australia, you know that they're watching us in New Zealand, you know there's people actually watching us in Vietnam. We've got a Hibs fan in Vietnam. We get messages from Canada, from America, lots of people passing on messages to us. And no sooner did Roughie mention the story of the cheerleader than she's been in contact. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And there she is. There's Elsie. Elsie at her best now. Still looks okay, Roughie, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know about yourself.
It looks all right, yeah.
Roughie, when they not come back, no danger.
So there we are. We've tracked down Elsie. There she is. Absolutely sensational. She's now living in the southern states of America and sends her love. Simple as that.
Peter,
yes.
Peter, you know you're mentioning all these places that the guys are tuning in from. You know, in Vietnam and Australia and all that. Why don't we get a PLZ tour? We can go and tour all these places, or would you take Alison instead of me?
Well, to be fair, by the way, Tam, the private jet that's taking us to Italy. I mean, you've got to do it, Tam. It's as simple as that, you know. I mean, it was Barry that suggested Alison go instead of you, Tam.
I did. I heard him the other day. I was throwing things at my laptop.
Yeah.
No, don't you worry, mate. I'm not leaving you at this one. I'm not leaving you out.
Yeah.
And again, there you go.
Please don't complain because an East Kilbride man is boasting that he has a computer. Again, Tam just showing off there. It's just incredible. I mean, they haven't even got Wi-Fi up there, and he's just showing off with a computer. Yeah.
Peter, can I say I've had quite a number of texts for people saying that they like the show the way it is just now. See, in terms of the guys in the house, is something totally different. I don't know what kind of feedback the guys have had. I don't know.
Well, Roughie and I, we definitely like it this way because we don't have to see your big ball face when Rangers are top of the league and you're coming in smiling all the time, and then you go on a downer, then you're up again, then you're down. You know, it was unbelievable. Roughie, the first half of the season was incredible. Do you remember the day? Do you remember the day he came in? They were top of the league and his chest was puffed out and his blue shirt on. He was giving it. We're going to win the league. He was. You couldn't wipe the smile off his face.
More bouncings every day.
January. Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah. There was
January.
Rapidly went downhill after New Year.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why we're in quarantine now, Barry. It's as simple as that. So, on that note, absolutely magnificent. I don't know about you, Tam, but I thought Roughie was sensational today. He just brought so much to the show. He's ended a 6-week run of mediocrity.
He was. He's stepped up to the plate today, Roughie. He's been really, really poor the last couple of games, but you know what? Manager, you yourself has faith in him. You've kept playing him through his lean spell, and he's come back today and rewarded you. So well done, Roughie boy.
You must have had a chat with him, Peter. You must have had a serious chat with him.
I did. I said the same thing that Jock Steen said to him in 1985 at Ninian. But Roughie, tell the troops.
No,
what
I'm not
Jock
swearing.
Steen said to you.
I can't swear. Can't swear on the telly.
No, but he did offer you a kind of an incentive when you were going out there, didn't he?
No, he swore at me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
I gave him
I
gave him the same team. I didn't ask you to swear, but I gave him the same team talk, boys. The same team talk that Roughie gave the Glen Afton players, Barry, when they went on to win the Junior Cup. Let's go out there and enjoy ourselves.
Enjoy yourself.
No tactics. Don't worry about it. Just go out there and enjoy yourself.
Aye. We come in with the cup at the end.
Yep, absolutely.
Cup was in the dressing room at the end.
Yep, and
that's what it's all about.
The same chat when he went out to play Peru. Just go out and enjoy yourself. Don't worry about the number 10. He can't take a free kick.
No, that was Ali's team talk, not mine.
Absolutely. Listen, go on, do your you do a great Ali McLeod.
When I says to him, Ali, is there anything special about this team at all the day? And he went, he says, no, nothing special, big man. Just an ordinary wee team. Aye, right. Battered
3-1. Magic.
That's the way he talks.
That was brilliant. Ali was a great lad. We miss him. Anyway, on that note, he was a good lad. Of course, hopefully you've enjoyed the chat. Don't forget, like, share and follow us on our Facebook page if you can, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. From all the guys, thanks to Gary Mackay, Rhonda Jones from the Yams charity, of course, played with distinction in the women's game. International caps aplenty, will be our special guest tomorrow as well. So join us if you can. Once again, 4 o'clock's the time. From Tam McManus, Barry Ferguson, Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.